Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the invocation provided by Chaplain Michael Bram.
Please take a moment of silence or pray in your tradition as I pray in mine. Almighty God, as we come to this occasion today, we pay tribute to that which has gone before and anticipate that which is to come. As we bid farewell to Colonel Timothy Spaulding, we thank you for his dynamic leadership and dedication to the test mission, his charisma and infectiously positive attitude in the face of historic challenges, and for his care and concern for the men and women of the 412th Operations Group. Both he and his wife, Dory, have contributed to the Edwards community beyond the unit in ways too many to count. Every person here has been touched by the Spaulding family. Their departure will leave a hole in the aerospace valley. Their presence will be missed by all of us here, and I ask for your blessing on them as they proceed to their new assignment. I pray that all our paths will cross again. To paraphrase Ecclesiastes, just as there is a time to bid farewell, there's a time to welcome new beginnings. We welcome Colonel Grant Mizell, his wife Evelyn, their children Kelly and Lorelei, back to the center of the aerospace testing universe. I ask that you bless their command tour with the gifts of wisdom, courage, strength, and compassion. May you inspire Colonel Mizell with a sense of confidence and assurance in those lonely moments of decision. Guide and direct him always that justice, truth, and the quest for peace may be served. Amen.
Thank you, Blue Eagles Honor Guard, Ms. Rachel Bradshaw, and Chaplain Michael Bram. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Today's change of command ceremony is deeply rooted in military tradition and dates back to the reign of King Frederick of Prussia. During this time, organizational flags were developed with color arrangements and symbols unique to each unit. When a change of command was to take place, the outgoing commander would pass the flag to the individual assuming command. This gesture was accomplished in front of the unit so all could see and witness their new leader assuming command. This symbolic tradition has survived through military history and will be part of our ceremony today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to introduce Brigadier General Matthew Heiger, Commander 412 Test Wing.
So good morning. Happy Friday. All right. For those of you joining us virtually, sorry you can't be with us here in person, but for those of you that are here in person, welcome to the center of the aerospace testing universe. And really, for the operations group, welcome to the center of the aerospace testing universe. It is my distinct honor, privilege, and quite frankly, a joy for me to officiate the ceremony today as we watch Ivy hand off a guidon that he has held so well for the last 2 years and hand that off to Grant as he literally marathon races into the future with the operations group. So again, welcome all of you. Welcome you here in person, welcome you here virtually. Welcome you virtually that are joining us as well. I know she doesn't like being highlighted, but I need to first thank Leslie, my beautiful spouse, for being here today. Thank you, sweetheart. Also to Ivy's family, Dory, thank you for being here in person. Please pass on our best to all the other members of Team Spaulding here, and pat Bridget on the head for us. All right, talk a little bit more about her here in a second, and a big welcome to Grant's family, to Missil's family. So Evelyn, it's great meeting you for a couple times now. Kelly and Lorelei, welcome to the neighborhood. Welcome to the area. Welcome back, I guess, to a place that you can say the whole thing if you want, the center of the aerospace testing universe, or you can do what I do and just call it Takata 2. Choice is yours, right? Welcome back. And then to the supporting cast, the other team members, the supporting members, close friends, and relatives that are here with us today. Thanks for traveling. I know getting to this is not easy, but it was great weather today. It's a glorious day, time of year to be, and you that made it, to all of you actually in support of what you're going to hear Grant talk about and assume today. Thank you for supporting him today with your presence and to this point in his life, getting him here. Another welcome to all of you that are commanders, chiefs, distinguished visitors, community partners, alums of this organization. Thank you and welcome. But on the list of thank yous, I need to thank a couple folks that make these things happen. So there's a team of professionals that are literally driving the sound, the audio, the visual, and the broadcast. It's Team Public Affairs. They're going to not even flinch when I say to them, thanks. But if we could all give them a round of applause. You guys rock always. And this will be just one of multiple events they will live broadcast today from Takata 2. So thanks, PA. In addition to that, the Blue Eagles Honor Guard usually finishes and runs because this is one of many events they do. When you see them, thank them, pat them on the back. They will not break bearing, I promise, but thank them for what they do, not just honoring ceremonies, but honoring veterans and providing those last honors, which are so important and so paramount. Blue Eagles Honor Guard, thank you very much. This doesn't happen without a team putting it together. So if you were a part of, and I'm going to call you out by person if you don't highlight yourself, if you were a part of the team that made this happen, stand up, or those back there, raise your hand. Come on, Jen. Call the rest out. Yeah, that includes protocol, the OG front office, the MC, the proffer on the stage, everybody else. This doesn't happen without that team making it happen. And because they do it so well, it looks flawlessly until I flub my speech. But that's on me, not them. So thank you for making this happen. It's also of note that we thank our mission partners today. The OG mission partner of Test Pilot School, and the OG mission partner of the maintenance group for agreeing to honor this ceremony with a down day, a no-fly day. And to all the other mission partners across Takata 2 that decided that it was more important to honor these two gentlemen today than to generate mission. So thank you, mission partners, for flexing and being agile and being innovative with what you do as we do what's right here on stage today. And then I would be remiss if I didn't thank the maintenance group, but specifically the Building 1600 facility managers and the entirety of the 412 Civil Engineering Group for making this facility and this location happen, not just today, but every day. So a big round of applause for the facility folks. If you've received an email from me, you've seen that my signature block signs off with the word compete. And it's not compete, it's compete. I mean that literally. So ladies and gentlemen gathered here today in person and joining us virtually from all over our great nation, we continue to be amidst a great power competition, unlike any we have ever faced before as a nation. Our primary peer competitor nation is extremely, and I mean to the extreme, patient. And all of our adversaries are very observant. We, Americans all, must continue to compete 24/7, 365, on duty, off duty, at home, at work, everywhere we are all the time. And we must compete alongside our partners and our allies in what I argue are 4 combat fronts. The first combat front is the fight tonight. The second combat front that literally we are fighting in right now is the cyber domain and the cyber fight. The third fight that we're all humans on this planet are in right now is the fight against SARS-CoV-2. And the fourth combat front that this place is on the vanguard of is the future fight, which is also known as the modernization fight. As all of America's competitors and our potential military adversaries have observed that going toe-to-toe in open combat against the United States is hard. But like America did when we were a nascent country some 250 years ago against our mightier military adversary that wore red coats, our competitors today are not hitting us where we are strongest, and that's a good thing. But make no mistake, they're hitting us. Our adversaries are fighting with us literally right now in cyber. They're fighting with us every time you get on your internet at home, every time you look at your phone, every time you read, write, send, open, or otherwise click on something on your computer. Our adversaries are also fighting with us today and probably mostly tonight in limited military actions against us across the globe. Our adversaries are racing against us, and I literally mean racing against us, to emerge on the other side of this pandemic in the new normal before Western society gets there. And they're competing to arrive in better shape economically, fiscally, politically, and societally. And lastly, our primary competitor nation is racing to build a modernization machine that leaves us in the dust. They're competing. We must compete. As we fight across these 4 combat fronts, it is imperative that we grow, develop, use, and cherish our American competitive advantages like, and it's a long list, so I'm only going to pull out just a few: liberty, freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of religion, basic human rights and the acknowledgement and expectation thereof, the rule of law, and the unleashed innovative spirits of the American mind. Those are our American and Western competitive advantages in the fight that we are in. So members of the 412th Operations Group, you are literally on the front lines in all 4 of these combat fronts. Many of you are prepared to deploy today to fight tonight, and some of you are deployed literally right now. All of you fight in cyber, and what I mean by fighting in cyber is not fighting against your machine or your keyboard or your CAC, right? That's not what I mean by fighting in cyber. I mean that each and every time you use the tech that enables everything else we do, you're fighting in cyber. Every human in the operations group is admirably fighting against COVID. And you, the 412th Operations Group, are literally on the vanguard in the modernization fight. I don't say this lightly, and I mean it literally. Future generations are depending on you as you test and evaluate tomorrow's technology today. And in that fight, you've had an exceptional leader the last 24 months. No? Silence. I disagree with you. I think he's done an awesome job. The first time I met Colonel Ivy Spalding, Tim, right? First name Friday? I only get one name per person. Good news, everybody has a name on their flight suit. The first time I met him was at a test pilot school board at, I think it was San Antonio, if not it was Wright Pat. It was a few years back. The board president was then Brigadier General Chris Azzano, who on more than one occasion during that board mentioned to me literally that Ivy had unlimited future senior leadership potential. Note to self. Fast forward from 2017 to 2020, and I show up in, and who's my OG? It's this guy with unlimited future leadership potential. Ivy, I saw a glimpse of your leadership in that week or so we spent together in 2017, and it has been blatantly on display here at Takata the last 24 months. We're going to hear a lot about your leadership of the 412th OG in, I'm putting this in air quotes, everybody, Legion of Merit detail, immediately after I finish these remarks. But I need you, and I also need all of you to know that I am in awe of what Ivy's done for the nation and what he's done for this location. Ivy, as you and Dory depart Takata like literally immediately after the ceremony, is that right? Yeah, dinner reservation somewhere yeah, good on you. That's great planning. You need to know as you depart today for your next senior leadership challenge at B21, I am confident the pillars in your persona and the pillars in your life that enabled you to excel here will continue to propel you for many more years of service. My hope is that you continue to join us and stay with us for all those years of service. First among those pillars, I'm sure, are Dory, Oliver, and Charlotte, plus the rest of your close family and friends, including Bridget. And here's how I describe Bridget. She's the 60-pound puppy in adult black lab attire. Is that close for those of you that have known her? Yeah, she's fantastic. I'm confident they're the pillar. But of that large pillar, Dory, I know you're the primary. And so Dory, thank you. Leslie and I literally cherish the time we've had with you. The pandemic took some of it away, but what we've had has been fantastic. The time we've had with you, because of the time we've had with you, this installation is better because you're here. And it's also better because you actively cared about making it better. You did, and it is. I know, and you know, we have a long way to travel down this road, but your legacy is legit and it's enduring. Thank you very much. Ivy, I've been truly blessed to have you as both a group commander in this wing and also as the Flight Operations Authority for not just what we do here, but at multiple locations around the area and frankly across the nation too. Your finely tuned skill set of leadership and decision-making has never, not once, let me or Air Force Test Center or Air Force Material Command down. The 100% complete confidence I've had in you was well-earned and reaffirmed week after week, decision after decision, especially after you deflated, diffused, and mitigated crises or a pending crisis time after time. Congratulations for not only surviving the most demanding 06 job in the Air Force, and I think if you look at the folks that have had this job in advance, they'll tell you that. I concur with that. But not just surviving it, but excelling in that job, and literally, for those of you that have watched him work, making it look easy. You leave 2,700 women and men, active duty, civilian, and contractors of your group, synchronized and focused and coherent, like this massive high-power laser, on not only the mission today, but taking to heart the Chief's action orders, specifically A, airmen, and D, design implementation. Your inculcation of those action orders will enable mission execution for decades into the future in the modernization combat fight that we fight in daily here at Takata 2. You may not know this, but I'm a big user of the OG library. And if you don't know what that is, you'll have to ask somebody in OG later. But I've also learned a ton, and I know you don't know this, walking by Collaboration Corner and observing the art that is in white marker on the blue boards. It's been educational for me too. Thank you. Well done, my fellow airmen. It's been a distinct pleasure serving with you. Now, go be a demanding customer at Wright Pat or at Plant 42, where I'll probably see you a lot the next 2 years. All right, so if you're wondering, to be on stage today, did you have to have 2 kids, a dog, and be an endurance athlete? The answer is no. It just happens to be that all of us have those same characteristics. So that's correlation, not causality. The causality about missile is pretty clear, though. Colonel Grant Missile Mizell joins us from his last assignment as, hear it out, the Chief of the Joint Operations Coordination Element at United States Forces Korea. It's a mouthful, but it's even more important. In that job, he was literally the primary liaison officer between the senior U.S. military officer in Korea, who's an Army 4-star general, and the chairman of the South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff. No pressure. So this will be easy after that. And I know Grant's excited about getting back to flying. I know that. But I think he's probably most excited about the change in his professional landscape, not because you get to fly again, but because you no longer have to translate between not one, but 2 foreign languages, Army and Korean. Right? So Grant, I promise there are many, many, many fewer huas here. I can speak that too, but I don't like it either. Unfortunately, there's also a lot less Korean cuisine, so I'll commiserate with you in that loss. As you may know or may not know, South Korea holds a very special place in the lives of Team Higer, and we look forward to learning about your and our common shared ROC experiences as we enjoy the time at 93523 with you, Evelyn, and the rest of Team Mizell. And speaking of Team Mizell, Evelyn, Kelly, Lorelei, and Luna too. I know she's maybe hearing, but let her know, please. Welcome to the team here at the Center of the Aerospace Testing Universe. And to 93523, the best zip code in the Air Force. Leslie and our 3 kiddos, including one that barks and has a tail, look forward to getting to know you as we marvel together about this magical, and I mean literally magical and mythical and wonderful Aerospace Valley mashup of sonic booms, I'm not going to say the 4-letter word, high velocity air currents, I didn't say the W word, coyotes, bobcats, the sound of freedom, and absolutely breathtaking sunrises if you're up that early, but definitely the sunsets. Welcome. We're glad you're here. And speaking about here, Missile Dude, welcome back to SoCal native, right? I am not a SoCal native. I did spend some formative time in LA, so I speak an okay, moderately good SoCal dialect. But like all real SoCal natives, Mr. Dano Osborne, who couldn't be here today, he is giddy. I mean, he's like schoolgirl giddy that he no longer has to have me translate between him and the OG. So welcome back. All right. What are his creds? His creds are huge, and many of them aren't written, and many of them can't be written in the public domain. But of them, Colonel Mizell is a 1999 graduate of the United States Air Force Academy. And among his many other academic and professional credentials, he graduated as a member of the test pirates of TPS Class 06 Alpha. So I guess this means you can translate pirate too, right? Arr. That's all I know. He's a graduate of Air Command and Staff College. He was a National Defense Fellow. He's a command pilot with in excess of 3,200 flight hours in 55 aircraft, including more than 580 hours of combat time. Grant's first love mission design series aircraft is the C-130 and all of her derivatives. He's a multi-time distinguished graduate. He's worked closely with DARPA, and he commanded a big safari squadron. Colonel Mizell, you are a walking example of the strength a diverse professional and experiential background brings to Takata 2, and you are going to excel in this senior leadership role. I am thrilled the 412 Test Wing was able to successfully compete and prevail against your other suitors and match you to this job for the next 2, maybe 3 years of your selfless service to our nation. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, one word, say it with me, compete.
Thank you, General Heiger. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. General Heiger will now present the Legion of Merit Medal to Colonel Spaulding. Attention to orders. Colonel Timothy J. Spaulding distinguished himself by exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Commander, 412th Operations Group, 412th Test Wing, Air Force Test Center, Air Force Materiel Command, Edwards Air Force Base, California, from 23 August 2019 to 30 July 2021. In this important assignment, the leadership, exemplary foresight, and ceaseless efforts consistently demonstrated by Colonel Spaulding resulted in significant contributions to the effectiveness and success of experimental and operational test and evaluation of weapon systems to achieve Department of Defense and international partner nations' strategic objectives. Leading the Air Force's most diverse operations group, he flawlessly supervised and synchronized the mission activity of 8 flight test squadrons, 1 operations support squadron, and a combined test force, oversaw 2,700 military, government, civilian, and contractor employees, and managed a $220 million annual budget. Displaying exceptional insight, he expertly guided the operations of 440 test aircrew members, flying more than 20 aircraft types in support of over 200 Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, foreign military, and contractor programs. Throughout the global coronavirus pandemic, Colonel Spaulding took bold steps to ensure long-term viability of the flight test workforce, engaging diligently with mission partners, customers, and the broader defense industrial base to ensure personnel safety while still conducting the most critical flight test campaigns, including the Secretary of Defense's top priority, dual-capable aircraft modernization of the F-35 Alpha, which provides a critical nuclear capability to the United States and its allies. At the same time, Colonel Spaulding carefully marshaled resources across the operations group to support a classified test acceleration effort. His poised leadership of the team brought together developers, partners, operators, and testers, overcoming a host of obstacles and delivering the National Command Authority a crucial and timely operational capability. Colonel Spaulding's expertise and guidance also expanded the group's operational capabilities, including the receipt and operation of the first Air Force-owned KC-46 test aircraft, the establishment of a geographically separated detachment to test the VC-25 Bravo, the use of distributed test operations to support the development of the T-7 Alpha, and the first integration of a large-scale autonomous aircraft into a large force exercise. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Spaulding reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. It is my pleasure to introduce Colonel Timothy J. Spaulding, Commander, 412th Operations Group.
It is always an outstanding time to be here at the center of the aerospace testing universe. I hadn't thought about it until now, sir. Chico Takatatu, I think is how you would say that. But especially today. I mean, look around, like, right? And it's Friday. It doesn't get any better than this. Thank you for being a part of it. General Higer, obviously, thank you for being here. Leslie, thank you for coming to join us as well. Colonel Gordon, Tiffany, Chief Ward, thank you for joining us. I see a lot of squadron commanders, former squadron commanders, group commanders, and directors. Thank you all for being here. I'll echo the boss to say that these are complicated and busy events. They don't happen automatically. They're carefully crafted. This is the last of a long series for PA and protocol, so thank you for everything you do for us. I literally think that these ceremonies add longevity to every Air Force member that participates. They certainly do for me. Specific call-outs for the OG staff. FOMO, sorry, is in the back. I wrote MOFO on here. Jackie, Bling, Dan Brigante, even though it's not on your PRD, thank you for being here. Airman Ochoa, thanks for proffering. Captain Bobby Wrench, Torek, Cliff, thank you for being here. Honor Guard, outstanding. Thank you for singing the anthem, Rachel. Skulls rule? Somebody would say that. Chaplain Bram, thank you for, where are you? You're hiding. Like Martin Luther said, you're keeping our prayer frequent and fiery. Thank you for playing that role for the wing and for the operations group. And anyone I forgot, thank you for your participation. Mizels, both family and friends, thank you for coming in mass to honor Grant on this fabulous occasion. I've got a couple of reflections about the operations group that I want to share. I will make it brief. But before I do that, I have a couple of very specific shout outs that I felt like I needed to do in public. So before I do that, let me stop and say I actually the lawyers wrote this down for me, so I'm going to read it word for word. Under no circumstances should what I'm about to say be considered a full accounting of the people who deserve a specific and detailed thank you. Because I think although that might be theoretically possible, it's probably not practically achievable in a reasonable time span. But there's a few folks that have to be called out specifically. The first are Jay and Barb Orson, sitting here in the front row. I'll just say that taking someone into your home is an act of kindness. Taking someone into your home for the better part of 2 months is a different order of kindness. Your hospitality toward our family knows no bounds, and it was absolutely critical in a confusing and challenging time for us. Let me just say as a personal note that your example as parents that have raised whole and healthy and happy and successful children, and as human beings that live out the principles of your faith and practice, you're an inspiration to Dory and I, so thank you. I also checked, by the way, legally in the state of California, based on the amount of time that we live together, we are actually cousins. Yeah, so that's all good to go. Yeah, exactly. Group commanders and directors, thank you so much for your attendance today. I think that it would be fair to say that any organization only survives on the quality and integration of its peer leadership cohorts. There's lots of peer leadership cohorts here, but I think the group commander and director one is a particularly important one. You guys have shown willingness and cooperate to work with the OG's objectives and the big picture that we ask all of us to do to look beyond our own groups from day one, despite the fact that I rolled in on day one and threw my book down on the table and demanded that all of our lieutenant colonels got started first. You forgave me that, and we're awesome partners going forward. So Poco, Chuck, Mike, Judd, Nick, Jason, Dan, and Mace, thank you for everything. Specific call out for the Skulls LPA. So Skulls rule. Yep, and the LPA, the Lieutenant Protective Association, if you're not familiar, kept it spicy. Whether that was punching a key through the bottom of a White Claw, which is and drinking it, which is harder than you'd think to do, or the fact that you stole my staff car not once, but twice, and hit it on obscure parts of the airfield, you kept the energy up in the OG, so thank you for doing that. I also just want to say here publicly that I rotate out despite all of that with absolutely no hard feelings. Which is I know how you're going to feel when you get your next assignments. What? No, I'm not saying anything. I wanted to say a specific call out to my mom and dad, Jim and Gladys Spaulding, who are watching from Fort Worth, Texas today. They're not here physically. I said it out loud a couple of years ago when they were here. I'll say it again now. Thank you for providing a moral foundation for all of us in our family, rooted in faith and refined in practice, and centered on the notion that freedom and responsibility are two sides of the same coin. And although my mom had never used these words with me, she lived it out, continues to live it out. Martin Luther King said, an individual has not started living until he or she can rise above the narrow confines of their individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. Thank you for raising me in that family, Mom and Dad. To my own family, Oliver and Charlotte, I think you're watching. If you are watching, I bet it's doubled up with Discord on the other ear or maybe Roblox, so turn it down for just 1 second. Thank you for being a part of this adventure. It doesn't go unnoticed. I know that you didn't choose to serve, but in many ways you have. I promise you we will make sure that this is a valuable part of your life, and I look forward to watching you on your journey toward adulthood. And Oliver, if you get taller from me, we have to fight, and one of us has to move out. I'm still stronger right now. Dory. So in the last century, previous century, that sounds a little old, but just at the turn of that century, I was pulled into a trip into New Orleans by some friends of mine at the last second. And I fell in love at first sight with a woman there, I guess a girl at the time, because I was a kid too, at the lobby of the Roosevelt Hotel. It's thrilling to stand here 21 and a half years later with you as my partner. Your ability to see a more positive future and to hold all of us with your tenacity toward pushing toward that future here at Edwards, but truly in every community of which you and I have been a part, is why so many people value your leadership. Our partnership is the fundamental fact of my life, and I'm stoked that we're walking into the next version of that partnership. Thank you, and I love you. All right, so a couple of reflections on the 412th Operations Group. It's been a challenging and confounding couple of years. I don't think we need to cover the details there. They're familiar to everyone. I mean, it's even hard to put a narrative together that captures all of the things that we overcame as an operations group to continue the mission of test and evaluation that drives us every day. So instead, I just want to tell the story briefly in 3 specific objects. So the first one, this was supposed to be a relic of history. It's not a relic of history. This is a mask. Obviously, it's still around. But this is a unique mask because this is sort of prototype 1. So when it came apparent that masking was an important thing for us to do to protect ourselves and to protect each other, you may recall that nobody had masks. That wasn't a thing people did. And it became a scramble to find a way to do that. There was an innovative group of airmen inside of the operations group that stopped what they're doing, took the skills they had. They were sort of buoyed by the aircrew flight equipment crowd, but they grabbed lots of other people from lots of other places. They took materials from wherever they could find it, oftentimes donated by families, and they started to mass produce masks, not for the OG, but for the entire wing. Now, in a few weeks, we got masks from other places, and these have gone sort of as a museum piece, but that captures exactly what the OG is supposed to be, is to meet a challenge with resiliency, and probably most important, with autonomy. Chief, did we ever tell anyone to make masks? Did we even think about making masks? No, masks just appeared because the airmen of the 412th OG knew they needed to come. This is literally one of the most important physical objects of the time I've been in the Air Force, and I'll treasure it as we go forward. The second is this shell. So this is a shell from an experiment we ran on the test range out here at the Pyra called the Fully Automated Net Gun. And as ridiculous as it sounds, inside of this shell was a net that you would then shoot with a relatively large caliber weapon at enemy small unmanned aerial vehicles. You may or may not know this. This is a problem for our fielded forces. I bring this up to say that a lot of times what we talk about in the OG is the big stuff, KC-46, classified test missions, F-35 nuclear capability, but just as important are the small, quick, and innovative things that we're doing every day that nobody really notices. So this is happening. This is you in the OG. This also is an example of innovation in the face of how do we actually go around shooting things out on the range. And I also want to point out that it's an example of what exactly we're supposed to do in the operations group, because this is an absolute failure. This program does not exist. We did not waste our money on it, and we did not ask our fielded forces to try to use this to protect themselves, because it did not work. And that was not known before we began, and it was known and clear and acted on after the ETCTF was done with it. So that's another object that I treasure. The third object is not here. And it's not here because there are some of our teammates in the OG who are not here either. I bring them up because we talk a lot in the Air Force that this is a family. And we live it sometimes. Sometimes we don't. We try our best. But when we lose an airman, anybody who's been close to that knows that that is exactly when we do become a family. So having seen that happen, having seen us wrap our arms around the survivors of those family, despite that being as tragic as it can be, fills me with hope and joy to be a part of this family, which is different than any job you will ever have again. Okay, so in closing, I just want to talk about one word with a couple of thoughts on it, and the word is a spicy one. It's privilege. So privilege has been thrown around in the national discourse a lot lately. I will tell you that going back to my parents, they always harped on the idea of privilege and that we should recognize the things that we've been given that might seem like water because we swim in them every day, but are truly privileges. So I just want to talk about a little bit here. Privilege. I was privileged here to work for two different wing commanders, Brigadier General Teichert, Brigadier General Heiger, who dedicated all of themselves to the betterment of this wing and this installation and the people associated with it. And even more, gave their group commanders and directors the autonomy to lead in the way that those people saw best, an attitude that enabled us at the operations group to do the same thing for the squadron commanders, and for the squadron commanders to do the same thing for the people. It's not always like that, and it is like that here. Privileged. I was privileged to have been surrounded in that leadership quest by literally the biggest and best pile of talented leaders that AFMC, and I would argue the Air Force, has ever seen. Every time I looked down the table at a staff meeting, I was blown away by the people that were looking back at me. Matrix, Basher, Leo, Wigby, Cypher, Tubbs, Scrape, Pat, Wick, Mid, Grabber, Goody Dollar, Hammer, Pound, Fangs, Sin, Uno, Trap, Clutch, Midvale. It was truly a privilege to look down that table and know that you were on my team. It was also my privilege to work with an insanely capable group of deputies. And if you haven't figured out how the operations group work, if it seems like an impossible task, it is. It only works with those deputies. Split, Scrabble, Yeti Dog, Biscuit, Nas, and now Alf. They quietly accomplish the real work of managing the operations group, which is the most diverse and challenging in the United States Air Force. I was privileged to lead the 412th Operations Group alongside Chief Master Sergeant Tom Ireland, who's standing right here. He's a man who embodies all the core values that we strive for: integrity first, service before himself, and excellence in everything that he does. Chief, you were knowledgeable when I was ignorant. You were strong when I was weak, courageous when I was timid. And I tell all of you, this is exactly what our airmen should aspire to be. And you are a true friend to me, and a friendship I know that we're going to keep as each of us take our next step in our journey. Something in the air. You see, I got a lot of privilege, so that's my privilege. But honestly, like, all of us have a pretty significant privilege because we're Americans. We're part of a political experiment that, despite real and persistent shortcomings, continues to walk along the path toward a vision that Thomas Jefferson put in words: a nation where all men, all women, all people are created equal, and we share as human beings the birthright of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We're privileged to be here at the center of the aerospace tester universe, enabling that pursuit by building America's air power future, the sharpest of America's swords. We're privileged that we do that surrounded by friends, family, and a great cloud of witnesses that pursues the same noble ends as we do. And we're privileged in the 412th Operations Group that at the center of that universe, we put our work. When we're done for the day or the week or the month or the year, when we put it down, we have no doubts that it has made real, positive, and lasting good. And I know Grant will say the same as he takes command. It has been our privilege of a lifetime to work alongside you in that aim. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Colonel Spaulding. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with the change of command ceremony. Please stand. The passing of the colors symbolizes the passing of command and is done in a ceremony so all may witness the change of leadership responsibilities. Colonel Spaulding will relinquish command of the 412th Operations Group. Then, Colonel Mizell will assume command of the 412th Operations Group. Attention to orders. Department of the Air Force, Headquarters, United States Air Force, Washington, D.C., Special Order GO-21-14, dated 25 May 2021, under the provisions of the Air Force Instruction 51-604, by order of Brigadier General Matthew Heiger, Colonel Grant Mizell is hereby appointed as commander of the 412th Operations Group, effective 30 July 2021. It is customary for flying units to have the commander's name on the unit's flagship. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to C-12 Charlie, tail number 76-0166, where Staff Sergeant Isaac Watson will salute and welcome the new commander by unveiling Colonel Meisel's name on the C-12 Charlie. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Grant A. Meisel, Commander, 412th Operations Group.
Good morning. It's an honor to be back at Edwards with all the familiar faces, friendly faces. For Evelyn and I, it's an honor to return. We were here in 2005 until 2010, and we relished the friendships and the flight test experiences we had in all those CGO years. Back then, I never thought I'd have the opportunity to serve as the OG. Edwards is such a unique location with incredible talent, with an amazing legacy. The 412th OG has a well-worn track record as the world's premier airspace and cyber test team, developing the next generation warfighting tools and keeping America ahead of its rivals. Today, Edwards test is that much more important, developing the Air Force of the future. From hypersonic technology to next generation fighter, bomber, mobility, and ISR aircraft, to remotely piloted advancements, to our emerging tech efforts, there's no place where DT is better accomplished. The Chief has challenged us to accelerate change, and I know this group is up to the challenge, and I'm humbled to be part of this team. Ivy and Dory, you've done an incredible job of leading the OG. You've built a great community, a great OG, and you will leave an enduring legacy at Edwards Air Force Base. Evelyn and I wish you the best as you move to Dayton and continue your Air Force service. General and Mrs. Heiger, thank you for the kind words. Thank you for your trust and confidence. Laz, thank you for loaning us Allen wrenches to put our furniture together. No, seriously. Laz and Tiffany, we've been following you for the last year, watching what you've done at the wing, and we look forward to being part of your leadership team. Chief Ward, thank you. Thanks to all the OG team who's put this day together, and 412 senior leaders, thanks for showing up and sharing this day with me. I'm looking forward to joining your team as well. Most importantly, I must thank my family. Evelyn, you've been all in through our entire career. You've consistently sacrificed your own career to support me and the families of the DoD. Thank you for enthusiastically taking on one more adventure. To our children, Kelly and Lorelei, thank you for assisting Mom and Dad through all the challenges of being a military child. Your resiliency is commendable. To my mom, brothers, extended family who all drove out today, thank you. Even while Evelyn and I consistently miss holidays and important events, you're there for us, and you show us the importance of our support network. To our distinguished friends and guests that we've picked up along the way, along this Air Force journey, we love you. Thanks for making the long journey to be here, and thanks for tuning in. Finally, to the men and women of the OG, thank you for the things that you have done and will continue to do. Your tireless efforts are inspiring to me, and I look forward to working with you as we leverage our diverse talents, backgrounds, and ideas to develop the future Air and Space Force and tackle the challenges ahead. I'm looking forward to getting to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Meisel. Colonel and Mrs. Meisel, the men and women of the 412th Operations Group welcome you. In keeping with Air Force tradition, we conclude today's ceremony with the playing of the Air Force song. While it's customary for Air Force members to stand, we invite all of our guests to join us in standing for the Air Force song and departure of the official party. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. You are now invited to join Colonel and Mrs. Mizell for a reception to my left. However, we ask that you please remain in place for a brief moment until our distinguished guests have departed. Thank you for attending and have a great Air Force Day.